G'day, I'm Warwick Schiller and welcome to Online Equine Affaire. So things, hey Mr. Chance, this is Chance. Now, I guess he's a yearling now. So, you know, it's a bit of a different age than it has been in the past, and I'm really disappointed not to be able to get to go to Equine Affaire this year. I always enjoy going to the one both in Columbus and in Massachusetts. I think they do a great job with their horse expo, and I always love meeting all the people there, but this year it's going to be slightly different. So I'm going to try to cover here today one of the subjects I wanted to talk about at Equine Affaire. I had a list of participants who were going to come, one for each session, and one of the sessions I was going to work on was something I've been working on for a while now that's quite simple. It's very, very helpful for everybody with their horse, and it's about communicating with your horse. It's about letting your horse know you are listening, and there's a lot of different ways of doing that. But the way I've been going about it for a little while, one exercise I've been doing for a little while, and I kind of discovered this exercise in Morocco last year. I got asked by the wife of the British ambassador to Morocco to come to Morocco and work with some horses for I think it's a government agency there. It's called the Royal Society for the Encouragement of Horses, and it falls under the Ministry of Agriculture. And so I went there to work with some horses for them. Turns out they're all stallions, every single one of them. And they are Barb stallions of the Barb breed, which is from that whole Iberian Peninsula there. And they said a lot of these horses are pushy and aggressive on the ground. And so, you know, I was a little bit concerned about where to find a good starting point, you know, because some of them are 5, 6, 7 years old, and just walking in and trying to do stuff for the 5, 6, 7-year-old horse stallion that may have had some bad habits can be a little bit iffy. And so what I did with the first one, I think the first one I worked with, he actually wasn't too bad, but the thing I noticed with a lot of them, they'd been asked to do things but not followed through. Like on the ground, you know, the guy holding this one would tend to ask the horse to step backwards away from him, but he'd step backwards away from the horse. Things like that. So they basically had a little bit of an education in how to ignore requests from the person on the ground is really what I saw with them. And so what I did with those horses was I had them turn the horses loose, and I started working them loose. And that first one I worked with, hey mister, you've come back to say hi? How's it going? The first one I worked with, initially I was just what I did with him was turn him loose, and their attention's off to the outside. And these horses, like I said, they've almost been taught to willfully disregard you. So notice I didn't say disrespect. I don't think it's disrespectful, but they are quite disregardful, and which means if you ask for something, they just kind of go, why would I even pay attention to you? You know, you're not really worth listening to, which is different. There's a lot of people have horses that they've done a lot of groundwork with, stuff like that, and they've asked them to do a lot of stuff, and those horses tend to kind of go inside their head a bit like, oh, no, not this again. These weren't those kind of horses. These were all stallions, and they're housed in a big barn there, and so usually when we turned them loose, they had their heads up over the fence looking out over there, but they weren't like, oh no, not this again, which some horses do. They were basically just completely disregarding anything asked for. But so this first one, all I did was I pulled out my flag and I started wiggling that flag around till I could get him to flick an ear towards me. And there's two things in this exercise that ear flick does. Is one is you're getting their attention on you. Hey mister, he's back again. One is they can you're putting their attention on you, but the other one is if you stop asking as their attention comes to you, then what you tend to find is you start to build connection. You're starting to let them know, I see where your thoughts are at. Are you going to chew my halter here, mister? I see where your thoughts are at, and I think that's the start of the whole connection thing. And after a while with that horse, I could get him to flick an ear towards me. So he doesn't even have to turn his head towards me at this point in time. I just want him to flick his ear towards me. So I'm watching his right, there we go, that ear. I want to get his ear, there's his ear. I'm watching his right ear. There's his ear. I want his right ear. There's his ear. I want his right ear. There's his ear. Because I want to get his mind without necessarily having him come towards me, so not necessarily look at me. When he cuts in, I don't lean back. I stay here and I pivot like this. So right now his ear keeps flicking back towards me, so I don't need to do anything. Once I could get him to flick an ear towards me, then I started getting him to look at me, and I'll show you with this horse here in a minute, but neither of those two were an ask, okay? The big thing with this is I'm not asking as in, what I'm not doing is not driving. I'm not stepping towards them, pushing them away, pushing their hind end away from me so their front end comes around. What I'm really trying to do is attract their attention. And once I could get him to where I could get his attention relatively easy, then what tends to happen is they tend to stand there and hang with you and not feel the need to leave. Like when we first turned this horse loose, he just turned and peeled off. Really didn't want to have much to do with me. After a while they get to where they don't really leave, they just kind of hang there. And I'll show you in this clip here, but once you can get them to where they just want to hang there, then when you walk, what tends to happen is their thoughts come with you, and if you walk far enough around and their thoughts stay with you, they will untrack their feet and start to follow you a little bit. So have a look. So that's kind of how it ended up in, you'll see in this clip. If you have a horse that wants to move around a lot, trying to make him stand still doesn't help. So what I'm trying to do now is get him, if he wants a rest, he wants to move around a bit, he can move around in certain places, but he can only rest here. I haven't got him connected with me enough to start to walk around and have him follow me yet. In order for his feet to follow me, first his mind has to follow me. I know his mind won't follow me on that side, but it may on this side, so I'm going to go this way. So there's his head, there's his head, there's the first foot. Okay? His mind, his mind, his mind, his foot. So I'm going to try that again. So there's his ear, there's his head, there's more head, there's his head, I still have his head, I still have his head, and there's his feet. Very good. So I'll try that again. I'm going to go this way. See, his ears are not on me. His ears are not on, now his ears on me. There's his head and there's his feet. Very good. I'll try it again. See, now his head and his feet come together. So first was his attention. Second was his attention and his head. And now I'm getting his attention, his head, then his feet. So I'm going to wait till he looks away somewhere. There. So, right here. Attention, head, feet. Feet, 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 feet. Very good. What a good little man. So right then I went like that. He didn't take it, I'm not going to force it. I'm going to offer my hand. If he does that, good. If he does that, I'm not going to chase him around. There was another big grey horse there who was quite similar too, and when they, you know, he had a lot of that willful disregard. When they led him over to the round pen that we had there, he, you know, the guy was hanging on to him, but it looked like, it was almost like he was water skiing. Like he'd asked the horse to slow down, but the horse didn't really flick an ear towards him. It didn't pay too much attention to him, so he was just kind of getting led around. When we turned that one loose, he, you know, he was looking over the fence a lot. He was quite distracted, but after a while, you know, initially I had to do quite a bit with that flag to get his attention. But after a while, when he really connected with me, he was right there. He was actually pretty darn cool. And then one of the other ones I worked with, he, you know, on the ground was really kind of pushing the guy around quite a bit, you know, screaming, carrying on like that. And I turned him loose. It was the same process as the rest of them. I would just get his attention. When I got his ear, I would leave him alone. Then after a while, when his ears were working like this, then I got his eye, you know, I got him to look at me. And after a while, when you get him to look at you, then you can start to wander around and their head will tend to follow you. And at one point in time, there was a halter on the ground in there. And one point in time, I said, hey, I don't need this halter. I want to come over here and get your, one of those invisible lead ropes. And I got what I call an invisible lead rope. I went back out there, pretended to put the invisible lead rope on him. And you know, when I put that on him, then I could basically lead him around and tie him up with my invisible lead rope. See? Yeah. Hi. So I'm going to put it on him, and now I'm going to take it and I'm going to lead him over here with mine. Come on. Over here with my invisible lead rope. And now I'm going to tie him to an invisible post. I have one of them too. Okay? So now he's tied to my invisible post. Now I'm going to untie him from my invisible lead post and lead him this way. Come on, this way. All the way over here. No, come on. Good. Now I'll tie you to my invisible post again. So the foal that's out here in the arena with me, I guess he's a yearling now. You know, all the way along with him, from the very, very beginning we started messing with him, all I was really trying to do was get his attention. When I asked for something, I'd ask for his attention. So, and I wasn't asking for it like, give me your attention. I was doing it in such a way as to attract his attention. And what I found is if you can get those horses to where their thoughts come towards you, so that's, you can create a connection. When you get those horses to where their thoughts will come towards you, then you tend to find that all the brace and all the stiffness and all that sort of stuff that we tend to have in our horses, it tends to go away. You know, if you're pulling the lead rope and the horse is pulling on you, I guarantee you their thoughts are thinking somewhere else. And I've been doing this for a few years now, and I had a yearling filly last year. I was working for a friend, and everything I'd done with her was all about connection. It was all about getting her attention. I might use this flag to do something and get her attention, let her know that I see that change in focus when I get her attention. And the first day I actually went to do any structured groundwork, like we'd lead her around, things like that. But the first day I actually asked her to go off around me with the halter and lead rope on. She did it perfectly with the correct bend, like the best bend I've ever seen in a horse before, and I've not worked on it. And I went back the next day to film her, and I thought, well, I'm going to try something different I've never tried before. And so I've spent one session asking her to go off around me. I thought, well, I'm going to ask her to go off around me with no halter on and see what happens. And as you can see here in this video, she went around with a perfect bend in her body. Okay, her ribs were bent, her inside hind foot was stepping up underneath. It was just perfect. And I realized now what I was doing in that clip was I had spent a lot of time teaching her to think towards this flag, have her thoughts come towards the flag. And then I took the flag and I was using the flag towards her rib cage to have her move over. And when I was moving her over with the flag, moving her rib cage over the flag, her thoughts were coming towards it as well. And so she had like this perfect liberty circle thing going on there, which, you know, I've never really been able to do in the past. So what I might do right here, oh, actually, yeah, so let's have a look at how far away Chance is from me now. See, he's way down there looking out at those other horses. Okay, so this is where I like to start this exercise. If you watch his ears, I'm going to wander, see that ear flick? So what I did right then was I started to move and wave that flag very, very slightly. Okay, now notice his ears aren't on me, so I'm going to move a little bit and start to wave my flag here. You can't see me because you're looking at him, but I'm a long way away and I'm waving my flag very slightly. Right there, his ear flick towards me, I'll stop. Now you notice his attention's out through the fence. I'm going to start to move and I'm on his right side. There, that right ear flicks towards me, I'll stop. Got my trusted body collar there to help distract him. So I'm going to, there you go, the ear flicks towards me, I'll stop. So I'm standing perfectly still right now. See his ear just flick towards me, so he's a bit more aware of me than he was. And see his right ear, it flicks towards me. I haven't moved, I'm not moving, I'm standing still right now. You probably can't see me, but I'm standing perfectly still. But you notice his ear is working a little bit. It's not now. So I'm going to start to move. I'm moving my feet and I'm going to wave my flag just a little bit off to the side. Right there, that ear flicks towards me, I'll stop. And so what I'm doing with him is communicating to him. So I'm not asking for his attention, I'm attracting it. But the thing that I'm doing is letting him know that I'm very aware of what his thoughts are doing. And that's where the connection comes from. So right now the ear's not on me, I'm going to start to move. I might wave my flag a bit, that his ear flicks, I'll stop. And you might notice now that ear is flicking a lot more. And then his head turned and he just looked at me right then. And I haven't done anything except get that ear flick. Okay, I'm just standing still out here. I'm not asking for anything right now. And when you're doing this, you've got to not be you know, you can't be the attention police. You know, you can't say, look at me, look at me, look at me. Like right now, his ears aren't on me, that's no big deal. They've been off me for a little while, so I might move my feet, start to wave my flag a bit. His ear comes and his head comes. So I just got his ear to flick towards me, and then his ear, that time his ear came and his head came, and then what happened right after that? His body came. So once his thoughts were over here, his feet came with it. Hey mister, how's it going? Are you good? You having a good day? And so that right there is, that's all connection right there. He was over there looking at those other horses, wasn't terribly interested in being over here, wasn't being bad or anything, were you, Mr. Chancey? But he was looking at those other horses over there, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. This is not about obedience, this is about connection. And so all I did was attracted his attention. And I attracted his attention. Oh, you're having a lick, aren't you? I attracted his attention. So you couldn't see me, but what I basically did was I walked a little bit and then I just took this flag and I just kind of waved it around like this. There was no, you have to look at me. I was just trying to, if you watch what this flag does right here, that's what I was trying to do right there, was get his attention. I was trying to facilitate his attention coming over here, but when his attention came over here, I immediately stopped as soon as that ear flicked towards me. So I'm telling him from, you know, 80 feet away, how I can read your mind. I'm really, really connected to you. And I'll see if I can show you where this really helps. Oh, he's going to leave here. When I get this halter on here in a minute, I'll show you this where this really helps once you get the halter on. So right now, I'm going to see if I can get his attention here. There's his eye starts to come. So I'm going to see if I can get his attention. His ear's on me, but I'm going to see if I can get his eye to look over here. He's sniffing on the bridge. just going to wave this around. I might take it back down in here, and right there his eye looks at me, and I'll just step backwards. But I'm not driving his hind end. In the past, I used to, right here, I would put pressure on that horse and have him run around till he looked at me, and then I'd step backwards. There's no driving at all. I'm just trying to attract his attention, and when he looks at me, I'm going to step away. So that stepping away lets him know, I saw his attention change. And then he just comes over here and catches me. Hey mister, how's it going? So I'm going to catch you right now. And I'll show you kind of a little bit of stuff I did with him when he was younger. But before I ever put a halter on him, I could get him to think over this way with the flag. So then how I started teaching him how to respond to the halter is I would pick up on the halter, and then I would get his attention with the flag. This is how I taught him how to lead, how to do anything in response to this halter. So I would pick up this halter here, and see now he's starting to just follow the feel of that halter around there when I pick up on that. But you know, as you know, foals don't really know how to do that. So I'm just going to pick up here. Now he's not thinking over this way, is he? And right about there, he's thinking over this way. And what happens as soon as his thought came this way, his feet, hey mister, his feet came this way. And that's the key. Like I said before, whenever a horse is bracing against you, they are mentally somewhere else. Hey little dude. So I had a horse at a clinic in Australia in January, and he had a lead rope on like this. The lady had a flag. And this horse, all he wanted to do was get the heck away from her. He'd had enough training. Okay, he was anxious. He wanted to go back to the gate. He wanted to go back to the stables to the other horses, even though there's horses in the arena with him. And if you waved the flag around, he just went, oh, not that thing again. You pulled in the lead rope, he's like, not that again. And so, unlike those horses in Morocco, those ones were like willfully disregardful. Like they'd been asked to do something and kind of not get anything to happen and then let go of. This one hadn't had that. He just had a lot of asking him to do stuff. And so what I did so the first day online, I cannot get this horse to do anything. All he's wanting to do is pull away from me. And a lot of times what I'll do with horses, especially like at horse expos, like I should be at now, I did this at a horse expo in California last year. There was a off the track thoroughbred there, and he wasn't really wound up, but he was quite distracted, and you know, he was pushing on the lead rope and carrying on. And all I did with him was I got a hold of that lead rope, and if he walked and hit the end of the lead rope, I would use the flag to redirect his attention back to me. Okay, redirect his thoughts back over here. And so that works quite well. If you have a look in this clip, you'll see how well it worked. Okay, so you see all this stuff right here. Okay, so there's several things I'm going to do. I'm going to take a hold of that lead rope and have Anita leave. But from the time I take a hold of the lead rope, I am going to have him be aware of me. Okay? And don't mistake that for I'm going to be the leader. Actually, I saw a great quote about leadership this morning. Leadership is not about being the boss. Okay? There's times with horses you can have passive leadership, which means you're still a leader, but you're allowing things to happen. And I read a great quote this morning. It said, saying your horse needs a leader and wants to follow you is not an argument for making him dependent on you or keeping him that way. A leader may also choose to give the people or animals under his charge freedom and opportunities to choose. That's what leadership is. I'm the leader, and hey, I'll make the decision now that you can take over. It's not about being the boss. But so I'm going to be a leader in this whole thing, and the leadership stuff I'm going to do is try to help him. Basically, I'm going to help him do some meditation. I'm going to help him, and I'm not going to have him meditate, but it's kind of like that. Because if you think about meditation is controlling what your mind thinks about, I'm going to control what his mind thinks about. And you'd say right now he had some anxiety, doesn't he? And where's his ears? His ears are over there, okay? Anxiety is when you are thinking about a future event. You're not thinking about what's going on right now. He's not standing around here for the most part with Anita. He's somewhere else. So I'm going to see if I can get his attention back on me. So are we ready for this, Anita? I'm going to do the big old switcheroonie here. Please. Ready, set, go. So I'm going to hold this. Oops, I better hold this rope here. And he walks off over there. Now, when he hits the end of the lead rope, right about there, I'm going to go, hey, did you notice me over here? And if he, so I'm going to give him, oh, can you guys hop out of the way of the camera for a sec? Thank you. I'm going to give him the right to do whatever he wants, but if he hits the end of this lead rope, right there, I'm going to see what his ears just did, like, oh, forgot about you. And so what I'm trying to do here is connect this lead rope to his thoughts. So every time he takes the slack out of the lead rope, which is right about there, I'm going to direct his thoughts back over here. But I'm not pulling on him. He's taken the slack out of the lead rope, and I'm getting him, he's thinking, oh my God, there might be lions in those bushes, and oh, forgot about you. Okay, so I've done it, what's that, 3 times or 4 times? 3 times maybe. And right there, that's my first connection right there. He looked at me right then. He hasn't been looking at Anita, he's been looking out there, okay? And so I'm not after him to do anything. I'm not going to, at this point in time, I'm not asking him to do anything because he is calling the shots, okay? He's not in a point, at this point in time, where I can ask him to do stuff, okay? Now watch what he does right here. See, he's kind of going half sideways around me. Instead of him pointing away from me, he's pointing towards me. Right there, he licked his lips and he came in and looked right here. But I'm not telling him what to do. He's telling me what to do. He's telling me, hey, I'm taking the slack out of the lead rope. You probably should have directed my attention back towards you. But when he's not doing anything, I'm not doing anything. I'm just being here with him. I'm being present and breathing. And there he just shook his head and has a little bit of a relax right there. But what horses don't do is ask other horses to do things without having an intention behind it. And so you notice, as soon as that slack comes out of the lead rope, I wave this flag. I'm not trying to tap him with the flag. I'm trying to use the flag back there to redirect his attention back to me so he comes back here. But you notice when Anita was standing there and he was pulling that lead rope out of a hand like that, that was just wearing out the fact that that lead rope's for community. Yeah, see right there, he didn't pull it. He hit the end of it and came back to me, okay? It's kind of wearing out the fact this lead rope's for communication. If you're on the ground, this lead rope's going to be communication. If you're on his back, this is going to be your reins. And so, and you see what he just did? He went to leave and then his ear flicked towards me and goes, hang on. And so I'm teaching him to meditate. Right then, his thoughts were leaving. And then right then, me just being here, he think, oh, let me focus back on my breathing again, basically. So I'm not, at this point in time, I'm not calling the shots, he's calling the shots. If he will stand there like that and not move around, that's my first thing I want him to do is not move around, which means he doesn't follow his thoughts. What he was doing before was he was following his, there we go, very good. He was following his thoughts. His thoughts were over there and his feet were going over there. Right now, his thoughts are over there, but his feet are still here. And see what that left ear just flicked back towards me, right there? So his full attention's not over there. There's quite a bit of it over there. But if it was all over there, his feet would have gone that way by now. So I'm just going to wait here a bit with him. And so all I did was I just, I said, if you notice your mind has wandered, that's okay. Just bring your mind back to the present. That's all I did with him. I was the British guided meditation guy. Okay? But then what you do is you leave him alone. Like the meditation guy, he'll stop talking for a while. And you're supposed to focus on your breathing. And then after a while, what am I having for lunch? It's itchy. Oh, my butt hurts. And all those things. And then, oh, I'm just thinking about my butt. Hang on, I'm supposed to come back to the thing. If he walks off, that's the point where I will redirect him back to here. But right now, because what I don't want to do is be pick. This is the time he gets left alone. When he is, and eventually that left alone will get more and more to do with me. But right now, as long as he's standing still and not moving his feet, I want to leave him alone. I talked about the licking and chewing before. So when a horse comes back to the parasympathetic nervous system, they get a dopamine release. Okay? Do you ladies like chocolate? Do you know why you like chocolate more than other things that taste sweet like that? Because chocolate gives you dopamine, and dopamine is your body's reward, one of your reward things. So there's got to think about this. Chocolate has got to be a health food, because when you eat it, your body says, that makes me feel good. And that dopamine is there for a reason. When the horse runs away from the saber-toothed tiger and escapes, and then he licks and chews, he gets a big old dopamine hit. And Mother Nature says, that's great. Saber-toothed tiger comes along. If you can run fast enough and be aware of that saber-toothed tiger, I'm going to give you some good stuff. Okay? This is my line of thinking at least. So you get that when you eat chocolate. So obviously chocolate's good for you. Let me ask you this. Did anybody get a dopamine release when you eat kale? I rest my case. There you go. See his head just lowered? And right then, for a split second, he was right here. His mind and his body were in the same place, and some people walked by. And he went over there, but his feet still didn't follow them. So what I'm not doing right here is like, remember I said there's people who aren't aware of what their horse is doing, and then people who are very aware of what their horse is doing, but reading in, stuffing into it? Right now, I could read it. He's being disrespectful. His hind end, now see, he's right here. I could think, he's being disrespectful. He's not looking at me. Blah, 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 blah. That's a story I am telling myself. He is standing still right here. That's all he's doing, and that's all I want him to do right now. If he wants. So you can see how well that works. You know, all you do is when they hit the end of the lead rope, you just wave that flag a little bit to get their attention, and pretty soon they're no longer pulling on the lead rope because their thoughts aren't going away from you. But the horse I had in Australia at this clinic, that didn't work because he'd had the flag used a lot to where he was like, la, 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 not terribly interested in what you got to say. So the halter doesn't work. He hits the end of the lead rope and just drags you around. The flag doesn't work. And so the first day I had not much luck getting anywhere with him just because none of the tools worked. So I turned him loose. The second day when we came in, I turned him loose in the arena, even though there was 2 other horses in the arena, and I just did what we did with Chance right then, let him get all the way away from me. He was looking out over the gates, what he was doing, and I just used that flag. When he flicked an ear, I backed off. Flicked an ear, backed off. And once he could flick his ear quite well, easily, then I would get him to flick his ear and have his head come towards me, then I'd back off. And after a while, he'd come up and engage me, just like Chance did. And that was the second day, and I think by the second day I could actually walk around a little bit like this, and he'd kind of follow me around. And then I had the owner come in and I had her do it, and so, you know, she has nothing on his head, but she walks and he walks around, and they could walk around and he'd kind of follow her around and stay connected to her. By the third day he was really connected, and I realized that just like that yearling I showed you a video of a second ago, that I could get him to think about coming towards me with the flag. And so what I started doing was I asked him to go around me in liberty circles. Okay, so I asked him to go around me at liberty, and if I saw his eye looking out like he was going to leave, I would just take the flag over this side of my body and his eye would come back in and he'd keep going around. So I could move his body out with this, but if he was going around to my left, if I could move his body out with this, but if he was thinking about leaving, I could bring him back, I could push his body out, I could bring his mind in, and yeah, he ended up doing liberty circles around me like you can see here in this short clip. Get him in a little bit, good, excellent. Flag to get him back in a little bit right there, good. Get the flag to bring him back in a little bit right there, good. What's that, 3 circles? Flag to get him back in right there, and I'll bring him all the way in. Good. So you can see that works quite well right there, and it all came from just that little exercise I showed with Chance a second ago. And before, when I was talking about that filly that the first day I worked with her online, asking her to go off around me basically, she had the perfect bend in her body. Now I've led Chance, like, you know, I've led him around on the right, and I've led him around on the left, okay? But I haven't done any groundwork, so to speak. And so what I thought I might do right now is, for the first time ever here live at Equine Affaire Columbus / internet, I'm gonna ask him to go around me on my left side. And I just want to see if he goes around me with a correct bend in his body. So I'm just gonna ask him to go off around me here. See the bend in his body right here? I'm pushing his rib cage over with this flag, but his inside ear's looking back at it. And see, he's got that bend right there. I love that. So I've not, that's the first time I've ever tried to do that right there. And hey, mister, you can see he's got a really good bend in there already because he's not thinking away from me. And like I said at the beginning, I'm going to turn you loose here, Chancey. Oh, you're okay? Can't stick my flag up there, can I? Rookie move right then. Had the flag in my hand when I went to reach up and undo his halter. Are you okay, mister? Oh, there you go. You're okay. So in closing, I just want to talk about it looks like training, but it's about communication. And the big part of it is that you attract their attention. Hi, mister. You attract their attention. So it's not a demand, you attract their attention, but the big part of it is that you let them know when their attention flicks towards you. Just stop, let your energy go down, turn away from them. And it's really about us communicating to them that we can basically read their mind. We can tell what they're thinking about from a long way away. Are you going to climb up on that and be a trick horse? No? So it's really about communicating with them that you are very, very aware. And you know, there's an old Ray Hunt saying that says they know when you know and they know when you don't. And I used to think that saying meant they know when you know what you're doing and they know when you don't know what you're doing, but I've really come to realize that it means they know when you know what they're thinking and they know when you don't know what they're thinking, meaning, you know, or not just what they're thinking, but what their body's doing. And I think the more we can communicate with them about how aware we are of what's going on with them, I think that's where the connection really comes from. Because in order to train a horse, you've got to get him to connect with you. But I think initially we've got to connect with them first. So hopefully that gives you some things to think about. You know, take your time if you're going to work on this exercise. Have no expectations. Even if they start following you around and they want to leave, let them leave and then start all over again, because there is no, this is beyond training. There is no ask in this. This is about connection and communication. So give it a go and see how you go with it.